step by step and provide to you hands-on practical demonstration to gain in the practical knowledge in Android application pen testing. So now my screen is visible to you.
Yes.
Okay. So before before we start the demo session, I would like to know few things from you. Uh, like why do you want to join this training? What are your requirement and expectation for this training? And what is your current expertise in Android application pen testing? Through this, I will get to know about what are your experiences and what are your needs and requirement. So based on your answer, uh, I, I will provide you the practical demonstration, or I will cover everything in demo session. Akhil and Akshay and Akim.
Yes, Manish. So we are just beginners.
Okay. So do you have our curriculum? Do
No,
you
we
have?
are working, but we are beginner in Android pen testing.
Okay, okay. So do you have our Android pen testing curriculum?
No.
Okay, so here I'm going to share you. So in the chat box I shared the curriculum. Okay, so you uh, haven't gone through our curriculum. So that's why I will explain out of the module in actual very short. Then I will continue my demo. Okay, is it okay?
Yes, Manish.
Okay, so okay, so we are understanding curriculum. So in module one, I am going to cover two methodologies. Here you can see in our training sessions, I am going to cover the two methodologies, pen testing methodologies and bug bounty hunting methodologies. So in module one, you will get to know about the different pen testing methodologies as well as the bug bounty hunting methodologies. Okay, so both methodologies are very different, and how to utilize both methodologies to test modern Android applications or complex Android applications. Module 2 is all about the Android application attack surfaces. For example, how you can find attack surface of or attack surface in modern Android application. So modern Android applications has a different kind of attack variants related to the vulnerabilities, and then they have the different attack vectors. So we will understand all kind of attack surfaces, all kind of attack variants of each vulnerabilities, and also we will understand the attack vectors of each and every Android application. So I am going to cover I am going to cover the three attack surfaces. First are the client side vulnerabilities. How you can discover the client side vulnerabilities in modern application. When I say modern applications, I'm not talking about the traditional Android applications. Okay, so traditional Android applications have very less functionalities because they haven't integrating any kind of application, any kind of third party services into their applications, or they are not interacting with the cloud infrastructures. Okay, so uh, I am going to cover the client side vulnerabilities as well as I am going to cover the server side vulnerabilities. So in the server side, I will tell you how Android applications are interacting with the servers, how Android applications are interacting with the different kind of integrated services, how we can find the insecure connections or insecure implementation between the different component. Okay, so and then I will cover the logical security issues. Okay, in module 3, I'm going to cover the lab environment. Okay, so what kind of lab we need? So we will set up the lab. Module 4, basically we focus on primary stage of security analysis. For the primary stage of security analysis, what we need to do, we need to understand the ADB first. ADB is very important part. Why? Because like an Android pen tester use browser to exploit an Android applications whenever they find any kind of vulnerable Android application component. So it is very important to know how to exploit each and uh, uh, every vulnerable component using the ADB command itself. It is very important because like sometime there are many kind of security issues you cannot directly exploit throughout the browser itself. So ADB is the most powerful command line utility because it actually provides the connection between the host and the Android devices, and exploit uh, we will exploit the application and vulnerable Android application component, and also we can figure out lot of things throughout the ADB utility itself. Here you can see whenever I cover each and every vulnerabilities, I will sorry, I will tell you the things. One minute. Here you can see each of attack surfaces. Okay, so here you can see the documentation, right? So those kind of documentations I will provide you with each of the vulnerabilities. So here you can see, like we just understand the vulnerabilities and the exploitation throughout the ADB command itself. It is very important to understand the ADB command because automation is good, but throughout the ADB you will discover more and more security issues in uh, vulnerable Android application component. Okay, so and also we do the vulnerable Android application source code analysis. We will figure out the which part of application source code is vulnerable. Okay, and also we will understand the how to do the source code compilation. For example, as a pen tester, you will get 1 minute. So now my screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay, so in a source code compilations, what I am going to cover whenever as a pen tester, we actually test for the client. Sometime client actually give us source code of the application, and we already know like an Android application has a different development frameworks. So actually I will tell you how to compile all of the source code to the APK, and then we will understand in a primary stage we will understand decompilations or recompilations of application. We will understand the unzipping and unpacking of Android application, and we will understand the Android application architecture. Each and every Android application is very different, and actually throughout the Android application structure, Android application package structures, you will get to know lot of information about the Android application. Okay, and in a module 5 I am going to cover security analysis and security review of manifest file. So whenever you test any applications as a pen tester or as a security researcher, so I will cover in-depth security analysis and in-depth security review of manifest file. Each and every element I will explain you step by step, so you will figure out okay, like now okay, so which part of an Android manifest is exposed or misconfigured, or they contain some kind of mm, like 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 improper implementation. Okay, so module 6 I am going to cover the 10 tempering Android application. So we will understand how hackers or attackers can add malicious code to the Android applications, and we will figure out how they will manipulate their digital signature. And whenever we find any kind of malicious application, how do we find which code actually where they added malicious code into the application. Okay, and also we will understand signing an Android application, or also we do understand code obfuscation and code protection techniques, and how to bypass code obfuscation and code protection techniques. Modules in module 7, I am going to cover the source code analysis of an Android application. So here you can see I am going to cover the static attack analysis and dynamic attack analysis. So here, before doing the static attack analysis or dynamic attack analysis, we will figure out the dynamic source code analysis. The dynamic analysis is completely different. Here I am saying dynamic source code analysis. Here we actually figure out the vulnerable code, where the vulnerable code exists in Android application. Okay, and here you can see searching for the vulnerable functions. So whenever we use automated tools to discover security issues or discover vulnerable code component in an Android application, so most of the time actually automated tool not actually work in a proper way. So what we need to do, we need to manually search each and every vulnerable functions, vulnerable classes and vulnerable functions in the source code. Here you can see, like whenever I cover the vulnerabilities, so along with the vulnerability I will also cover the where they use vulnerable functions, vulnerable methods and vulnerable classes. Okay, it is very important because automation tools, they actually they do not identify these kind of security concerns. Here you can see, whenever I cover the insecure logging functions, insecure logging vulnerabilities, so you can see I am covering the different logging methods. And here you can see each of the logging method. Mostly we only aware about the Android log method, but as a pen tester or as a security researcher, you need to understand nowadays modern Android applications are very complex. Okay, and also you can see they are using the different logging methods. So most of the security researchers, they only focus on these Android log method utility, Android utility log methods. Okay, but we need to focus on all these functions, all these vulnerable functions also. Okay, so whenever I should test, whenever I should demonstrate you vulnerability, along with vulnerability, I will show you how to do the static analysis of source code where the vulnerabilities exist. And second one is I will do the dynamic attack analysis. So through that you can understand how to exploit any vulnerability without any tool or with the tool. Okay, so actually I'm covering each and every vulnerability in very depth. Okay, so module 8, module 8 is, okay. So in module 8, I'm covering the Bob suit, how to configure the Bob suit, and how to do the SSL pinning. I will cover the various method to bypass the SSL pinning, and it is very important to understand the bypassing SSL pinning. And from module 9, I am going to cover the different vulnerabilities. Or whenever I cover each and every vulnerability, first I will do the static analysis. In the static analysis, first I will tell you where the vulnerable code is exist. Okay, second is second then I will perform the dynamic analysis. In the dynamic analysis, you don't need to you actually don't need to look into the application source code. Just you are dynamically analyzing the application. But like in most of the case, you will not find major security concerns through the dynamic analysis. So static analysis is very important. So whenever I cover the vulnerability, with each vulnerabilities, I'm also I'm providing you the different Android applications, and with with the exploitation screenshot. So through that you will understand how uh, uh, how I exploit that particular vulnerability. Okay, and with that screenshot I'm also providing you those kind of documentation. And you can see with these documentation, I actually made documentation of each vulnerabilities, so you can figure out like now which manifest declaration is vulnerable. Okay, and which part of source code is actually vulnerable. So here you can see the two part of source code is vulnerable. So you can figure out each and every vulnerability in a very detailed way. Okay, and also exploitation part. Okay, and also I will also provide you the second documentation, which is completely based on ADB exploitation. Okay, so these documentation will help you whenever you test or audit any kind of Android application, so you can understand where should where should I test, where should I start my test. Okay, so now in a module 10, I'm covering the insufficient logging methods, and I'm covering the different vulnerabilities, different issues in insufficient logging, hard coding issues. I'm covering the hard coding issues, and the most of the practical, 80 to 90% practical, I will demonstrate on live application. I will not use dummy application. Okay, or only for 10% I will use dummy application, but 80 to 90% I will use the live application. Okay, so here and module 12, I am covering the OAuth related vulnerabilities. Sometime Android application developer, they actually uh, they, they do not implement it OAuth in a proper way. So in Android applications, most of the security issues happen in OAuth cases. So actually I will tell you how to find the security issues in OAuth. Module 13 is all about the insecure storages. Module 14 all about the Android application component, how to exploit Android application component. Module 15 is all about the file access vulnerabilities. Sometimes what happen, Android applications are vulnerable to file access vulnerabilities. So sometimes what happen, they can provide the additional permissions. For example, if application is vulnerable to file access vulnerabilities, so they can able to enter into the Android operating system. Okay, or also they can able to download the system level files. Okay, so actually we will figure out the all those security issues. So you can understand whenever you test any kind of those vulnerabilities, so which part of Android application is vulnerable, uh, which actually like now which vulnerable functions, vulnerable method, or uh, vulnerable classes or functions they used. Module 16, I'm going to cover all those security issues. And from the module 17, I focus on the APIs, private APIs and public APIs. So Android applications are interacting with the APIs. Okay, so they're interacting with the server throughout the API, all of the operations done by the API. And if any Android applications are integrating third-party services into the app, or if they are using some kind of they are interacting with the cloud infrastructure. So in that case, they are communicating or they are doing operation throughout the APIs. So API pen testing is very important. So I'm going to cover the insecure interaction between the assets. So okay, so how can we do it throughout the API testing? So actually, uh, uh, I'm going to cover all those things. So do you have any doubt or question?
Manish, I have one question. So, in this practical, are we going to use like latest version of Android operating system?
Yeah, we can use it, but whenever we test any Android application, so we use 6.0. It is an industry standard.
But sometimes, like the recent like latest application, they don't work on the older version of Android.
Yeah, right. Actually, that time we can use, because it just depend on the minimum SDK support. If
Okay,
application is supporting 6.0, then we can do the testing. Or also we can perform testing on modern API level of Android. Okay.
okay, Manish.
So first thing I want to know, do you know what are the modern Android application? Akshay, Aditi.
No,
Okay, so let first understand about the modern application. Okay, so modern Android applications are more complex than ever. Android application uh, nowadays use various advanced frameworks for the Android application development. You already know Android applications are actually developed in Android Studio, as well as they use the hybrid framework. Any developer who use a hybrid framework to develop mobile applications, so when when they export application, that particular application is simultaneously run on the Android application or run on the iOS devices, right? So basically, like nowadays, Android applications are modern because they use the various advanced framework for the Android application development, and also Android application integrated third-party services into the application, and also modern Android application is heavily rely on cloud infrastructure to manage data or to manage various kind of APIs. So now this kind of complexity makes it challenging to understand the core architecture of modern Android application. So modern days Android applications are very different because we whenever we test any Android application, first we need to figure out what kind of Android application we are testing. That Android application is built on the hybrid environment or it built on the Android Studio, right? So after then we can start the testing. And also, and nowadays Android applications are integrating many kind of third party services, or most of the operations are actually running on the cloud infrastructures. Okay, so whenever we test modern application, we need to figure out the architecture of the Android application. So in this training, I will demonstrate how to conduct pen testing and security auditing on modern Android application, and also you will learn step-by-step approach to identify critical vulnerabilities. Additionally, additionally, I will guide you. Okay, yeah, Akshay.
Manish, I was just having one question. Like, the what is the difference like between a normal Android application and the Flutter-based Android application? And to test the Flutter-based Android application, it will be the same Android pen testing, or it will be the different Android pen testing?
It will be different because because hybrid applications use third-party libraries, or they are storing most of the sensitive data on actual libraries. Okay, so we need to test all those library files, and the actual analysis of source code will be very different because architecture is completely different. And the APK is okay. The APK architecture is same, but the way of data, that like no, the way data it flow, so it completely change.
Okay, but how will we know that the application is a Flutter-based Android application or the normal application?
So when we decompile the applications now, through the when we find additional files, okay. So we through that we can figure out.
Okay, Manish, it's clear.
Okay. So additionally, I will also guide you through the security testing and security auditing of the Android application. And as a pen tester, it is very important to understand uh, testing any Android application which actually follow the different kind of compliances. For example, like now whenever you are doing the external pen testing service for the third party clients, okay, so that client application is following certain kind of compliances. For example, they are storing user sensitive data, or they are also storing payment related information. So they are following the two kind of compliances, GDPR or PCI DSS. So in that case, pen testers should understand those requirements, or pen testers should know how to pen test according to GDPR or PCI DSS compliances. So it is very important. Okay, so in this training, I'm also follow the approaches how to conduct security testing, pen testing, or security auditing when you are testing the application which follow the different kind of compliances. Okay, so actually you have to test according to those compliances. Okay, so I hope you understand, let's say, Aditi.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so here it is my approach. So 80 to 90% practical. I will demonstrate on live application, and I do cover static analysis as well as dynamic attack analysis, and I'm going to follow the two methodologies and the report writing. In the last, I cover the report writing. So So my approach is very simple, straightforward, and industry focused to ensure you gain practical skills that align with your current industry needs and helping you out in complex Android application pen testing projects. So Anna, this training is designed according to the real world application pen testing requirement, or also it equipping you with hands-on skills that you can directly apply to your real world pen testing engagement. Here you can see each of the vulnerabilities I am going to cover, uh, which is uh, uh, which is very useful in real world pen testing engagements. Okay, so 80 to 90% in this training, 80 to 90% practical will be demonstrated on live or real world application. I will demonstrate real time pen testing on live Android applications to help you to understand how to discover vulnerabilities in complex Android application. Okay, so this hands-on approach will help you to gain practical experiences in how to discover vulnerabilities and how you can exploit security flaws in real world Android application pen testing. And one more thing, each and every vulnerability is itself a case study, because each of the vulnerability I am going to cover on live Android applications, and with each Android application or vulnerability exploitation or vulnerability explanation, I am sharing these kind of documentation. So just understand the documentation. So here it contain the actual manifest file declaration. So which part of Android application component is vulnerable. So here you can see this is the application adobe.reader. Here I will show you the exploitation type. So here you can see part results vulnerability. So here you can see it is a common way to exploitation, but okay. So here you can see the how I exploit that particular vulnerability. So I will tell you how to exploit using the browser, as well as how to exploit using the ADB command. Okay, ADB itself. So basically here you can see, like now with each vulnerability I'm providing you the application, the screenshot of the application, okay, and the exploitation. Along with this, I am also providing you the actually step by step vulnerability exploitation documentation. So it will help you. For example, that application is vulnerable to part traversals, that Adobe Reader. So which like these actually content provider is like exported, okay, and the code, the insecure code in the Android, which part of Android application source code is vulnerable. So here you can see that particular part is vulnerable. Okay, so which activity? That activity. Okay, in that activity the second code is also vulnerable. Okay, here you can see there is a no permissions assigned, right? Or also it actually escaping the sandbox. It actually vulnerability, like throughout that part traversal vulnerability, I can access the internal files. Okay, I can read the internal file, I can read etc file, I can read the host file. Okay, so here you can see it kind of the sandbox bypassing throughout the uh, part traversals vulnerability. Okay, and also here you can see along with the automated attack throughout the browser. And here I am sharing you the the documentation where you can exploit certain kind of vulnerability using the ADB command itself. So that's why in a first stage, in a primary stage, I'm going to cover ADB command in very detail. Okay, and also I'm not only covering those vulnerabilities. So here you can see, like so here you can see I'm covering the 21 module, right? So I'm also covering the more and more security and Android security issues, which is recently discovered by me. So here you can see I am covering all those security issues, and also I am going to cover these kind of security issues. Okay, more and more security issues I am also going to cover. For example, there is a Brave browser, so the different security issues. Okay, so here you can see the different security issues. Okay, so uh, now actually 80 to 90% I actually covered on the live application. Okay, and the static attack analysis and dynamic attack analysis. It is very different from normal static analysis or dynamic analysis. Here we are not using any automation tools to analyze Android applications. Okay, it all about the attack analysis. Okay, so in this training, I am going to cover Android application vulnerability exploitation using the both static attack analysis and the dynamic attack analysis. For static analysis, I will demonstrate to you how to discover vulnerabilities in source code and how you can identify insecure Android application component throughout the manifest element analysis, and how you can discover the insecure functions, insecure methods, or insecure classes in an Android application. And you will learn how to analyze source code to discover security vulnerabilities or security flaws and understand how these vulnerabilities can be exploited manually. How you can exploit those vulnerabilities manually throughout the ADB command. Okay, and for the dynamic analysis, I will so for the dynamic analysis, I will demonstrate you to how to analyze and discover vulnerable Android application component using the tools like browser or as well as there are many other tools like browser. So how to do dynamic analysis? So in the static analysis, we basically focus on the source code. For example, if you are testing any application which is very large, like that application is more than 100 MB or 200 MB, so it actually contains a lot of Android application component, right? So static analysis is very important. Through the dynamic analysis, through the automated scanner, through the vulnerability scanners, you will not find major security concern. Okay, but like static attack analysis and dynamic attack analysis is very important. Okay, then then okay, once I cover the dynamic analysis, then I will demonstrate you how to exploit these vulnerabilities in an automated manner or as well as manual manner. And here I am going to cover the two methodologies, like pen testing methodologies or bug bounty hunting methodologies. First, we understand the methodology. So, Akshay, do you know what is the methodology?
I guess it's a process of testing.
Yeah, right. Actually, systematic process to conduct testing. Okay, it's a security testing or pen testing. So methodologies are most important part of Android application pen testing and bug bounty hunting. Methodologies help pen testers and security researchers to understand the architecture of Android application, the framework of Android application, the component of Android application, and the functionalities of modern Android application. Okay, and with the and and with the right methodologies, pentester can systematically identify vulnerabilities, and also pentester can exploit vulnerabilities in a very effective way when they follow the right methodologies. Okay, and also when pen testers use different methodologies, it also makes it easier to analyze complex Android application. And this approach, like now when pen testers use different methodologies, so this approach allow pen tester to focus on critical areas of Android application, and pen tester can understand how to discover various assets of Android application. So additionally, these methodologies like pen testing or bug bounty hunting methodologies so guide how to identify vulnerabilities in these assets. Like now, what are the assets? Assets are the API, the actual cloud infrastructures, the interactions between have the third party integrations. All are the part of the assets. So how you can understand all those assets and you can discover the actual vulnerabilities, and you can understand throughout the right methodologies. You can understand how do I exploit all those assets and how do I figure out vulnerable assets. Okay, so here I am going to cover two methodologies: first, pen testing methodologies and bug bounty hunting methodologies. So here you can see the OWASP top 10 security risk, and second methodology is CWE view weaknesses in mobile application. Okay, so OWASP top 10, we already aware about the OWASP top 10, right? So first we understand the OWASP top 10. The OWASP mobile top 10 methodology is widely accepted worldwide. As a pen tester, it is important to understand OWASP top 10 methodology, and also important to know how to write pen testing report according to the according to or on a, or actually following to the OWASP top 10 standard. OWASP top 10, OWASP top 10 methodology basically focus on the uh, top 10 to 15 security issues. Right here, you can see top 10 security issues. So, 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 he, uh, so basically, OWASP mobile top 10 methodology covered the top 10 vulnerabilities that are major cause of cyber attacks or data breaches. So, OWASP top 10 only list out those top 10 list which actually major cause to the cyber attacks. Okay, or most of the compliances, even the GDPR compliances, even the HIPAA compliances, or even the PCI DSS compliances, and all of the data security standard or compliances, they actually mandatory test according to the OWASP list. Anyone, because even a web application, even a mobile application, or even a thick line, they need that, like, test should be conduct according to the OWASP top 10 list, because OWASP top 10 list actually they contain the top 10 list of that vulnerabilities which is actually major cause to the cyber attacks or data breaches. So here I will be covering the OWASP mobile top 10 methodologies. So this methodologies is helping you to understand how to systematically security test and audit any Android application. So in this training, you will learn how to security test Android application step by step, and how you can discover vulnerabilities or conduct security auditing following the OWASP top 10 in industry standards. And here you can see in OWASP top 10, it basically focus on the top 10 security issue. Whereas the CWE ID, CWE stand for common weaknesses and elimination. So when pen tester perform security testing according to the OWASP top 10, they mainly focus on the top 10 to 15 security issues. Okay, and and actually, whereas when pen tester follow the CWE view weaknesses in mobile application, the actual attack surface of Android application is increases, and pentester analyze more and more Android application component and functionalities, and also whenever pentester test according to the CW view. So actually these kind of vulnerability can lead to a deeper and more detailed security assessment. Okay, so here you can see it cover the security issues which is not listed in OWASP top 10. Few of the security issues are listed in CW view, but most of the security issues are very different from the OWASP top 10. Okay, and also I am going to cover the bug bounty hunting methodologies. So Akshay, and can you tell me what is the bug bounty hunting methodologies, and what are bug bounty hunters or security researcher approach?
uh, Not sure about the methodology, but we just know that we can find out the vulnerabilities from the application, and then we will get bounties, as like we will get payment money or something.
So like bug bounty hunting approaches are very different. Like like all around the globe, different security researchers are testing the application. Each one security researchers has a diverse experiences, diverse knowledge, or diverse way of testing. Okay, so diverse mindset, right? So in the bug bounty hunting, everything is diversification. So bug bounty hunting methodologies are completely different approach from the existing pen testing methodologies. In pen testing methodologies, we follow the systematic approaches, but in bug bounty hunting, there is a no systematic approaches. Okay, so every bug bounty hunter and security researchers has a different way of testing Android application. This is because they come from the diverse background, they have a diverse skill set, and each of bug bounty hunters or security researcher brings unique perspective based on their experiences. So every security researcher is a completely different. Okay, so these differences allow them to approach or perform security testing in a various way, and it also helps them to uncovering complex vulnerabilities that might internal security team miss. Okay, so also we can say diversification allow them to identify complex vulnerabilities, and these diversification increasing the chance of discovering unique security issues follows in modern web application. So here in the bug bounty approaches, I am going to cover two approaches. First approaches is hacker one. Like here you can see in a hacker one, many of the security researchers, they found different kind of security issues or vulnerabilities in Android application. So here you can see, like now, there are many of the vulnerabilities I already listed here. All are the HackerOne bug bounty program. So here I am going to cover like the most complicated security issues, so you can easily understand how to find the complex security issues in Android application. So I'm going to cover like the most security issues which you can discover in actually most of the Android application. So here you can see I already listed many of the security issues. Okay, so here you can see IRC. So uh, I will demonstrate you most of the security concern in my training session, or with each practical. I'm sharing you this kind of documentation, so you can easily understand the view of exploitation. Okay, and you can whenever you want to test only using the ADB or the static analysis. My majorly focus on static analysis. Okay, how you can do the source code analysis manually, or how you can figure out the vulnerable functions, vulnerable classes, vulnerable methods. Okay, or which actually uh, which part is vulnerable, which actually source code, like which actually part of the Android application is vulnerable. Okay, so we will figure out manually everything. Okay, so here you can see I listed many of the security issues. Okay, and actually I'm also going to cover in our session all those security issues. Okay, these security issues are not listed in my course. Okay, because I recently test or found. Okay, so that's why I did not list it, but in a 1 or 2 month I will list all of the security issues. Next one is like Google Play security. So Google Play security actually they have some of the list of the vulnerabilities, which is actually very ve- you can say like these, they contain all of the Android application vulnerabilities. Okay, so any applications have those kind of vulnerabilities, so they need to fix. Just a minute. Okay, so Akshay, now I'm audible.
Yes, you were audible like normal. There was no issue.
Okay. So now you can see all those security issues I am covering. Like four to five security issues I am not covering because these are rare. Here you can see I am going to cover all those security issues, like insecure use of insecure network protocol, data transmission, authentication over. And whenever you find these kind of security issues in any of the actual bug bounty program, or or a responsible disclosure program, you will get these kind of bounty. The actual reward is mentioned along with the vulnerability name. Okay, so you can also figure out the severity of the security issue. I am going to cover all those security issues. Here you can see cryptographic authentication. I am going to cover all these three vulnerabilities, and here I am going to cover these two vulnerabilities. A third vulnerability is very rare. Okay, so actually I will provide you the documentation of these vulnerabilities, zip file traversal. Okay, and I am going to cover all these three vulnerabilities. I am going to cover all these three vulnerabilities, and I am going to cover URL verification, sandbox, or data, unprotected data on server. These actually three. Sorry, one, two, three. These actually vulnerabilities I am going to cover, or okay, so it is a remote code execution. Okay, so I'm also going to cover this vulnerability, and okay, so here I'm going to cover all these security issues, and when actually in the end I'm also covering the report writing, how to write the professional report. Okay, and also bug bounty hunting reports, and with when okay, what will you receive? Uh, After completing each training module, with each training module, I'm also providing you the documentation of the session, the documentation of the vulnerabilities or the application, so you can test or you can figure out or you can test by yourself and you can understand the vulnerability in a very detailed way. So Akshay or Alkim, any doubt? Al Hakim, huh? If you have any question, you can ask me.
So Manish, we will also get video recordings, or we will only get the like a text document.
Right, you will get only get the actual documentation. Okay, or also I'm also providing you the session documentation. Okay, so here you can see those kind of session documentation. Like now, whatever, for example, I covered module one. Okay, so module one related document I will provide you. Okay, so each of the theory version in a detailed manner I'm going to provide you. And whenever I cover the practical part, with like I am also provide you whenever I cover the vulnerabilities. So with the vulnerabilities, uh, I am going to provide you the documentation. Okay, the actual vulnerability explanation documentation, the actual the exploitation techniques, and the application. So here you can see along with the screenshots, and these kind of documentation I am also providing. Okay,
Okay.
so 80 to 90% I focus on live application. I do cover static attack analysis or dynamic attack analysis, or I'm going to cover the two methodologies: pen testing methodologies and bug bounty hunting methodologies. So, Akshay or Al Hakim, any, if you have any question, you can ask me. Okay, or any doubt, you can ask me.
I just have a question. So, is it possible to do like Android entire this Android pen testing using the latest version of Android operating system? Because I thought because I have read on the internet that there are lots of changes in the latest operating system of the
Yeah,
Android,
I know.
so
Yeah, I
we
know.
cannot do the testing using the latest operating system.
But one more thing is whenever you're testing any Android application, which is minimum SDK support is Android 6, Android version 6. Okay, so for structure, what does it mean? You can test on you can test on Android 6 version. Okay, because our main goal is to understand the vulnerabilities, right?
Yes, yes, yes. But let's say if the application is not working on the Android 6, if it is
So then
working
then
on
then
like
we will then we will go to the higher version. I think
okay.
that version is latest version. 1 minute. Which version I am using that? Okay, that is latest version. No, 7 point. No, it is not latest version. It is 7 point. I'm using this version 7. Okay,
Okay.
okay. Akshay, any doubt? Alalakim. I hope you understand my approaches and how I am going to cover each and every vulnerabilities, and I'm also following the data security standards. So whenever you are testing any Android application, so how you can follow the data security standards, okay, or how you can understand the needs of the data security standards. So if you don't have any doubt, can I close the class? Or if you want to interested to join the session, uh, you can you can discuss with the management team. Okay, and also this course will be 40 days, or each days I am taking 1.5 hour. Okay.
Okay, Manish. So I wanted to understand what will be the timings and like you just mentioned that it will be 40 days training. So what will be the timing? Whether it will be a daytime, evening, night, or it will be like a weekend.
So timing will be, sorry, not day 1.5 hour. Okay. And timing will be between 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. between evening time.
Every day.
Yeah, every day, Monday to Friday.
Okay. And let's say if we miss any session, then what will be
So don't worry. Uh, 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 I will repeat the session. So don't worry.
okay, okay. And regarding the fees and also to whom to discuss with the management or with you.
So, management, you can discuss with the management.
Okay, sure.
Okay. See you, Akshay. Or
Okay,
any
thank you, Manish. No,
well.
no, that's it. That. Thank you.
Okay, Alakim, you have any doubt? Okay, so you don't have any doubt. Can I close the session?
Yes, sure, Manish.
Okay, then see you.
Thank you.
Welcome.